Now for one that's very much like a puzzle, the one where we have to find the equation given some of the information. So we're told the foci are located at 3 plus or minus the square root of 17, negative 1. All right, so the change happened in the x. So we were at 3, we went plus the square root of 17, minus the square root of 17. In fact, that's about 4, a little bit more than 4. So let's go ahead and plot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a little bit more than 7, negative 1. And 3 minus 4, that would be at negative 1-ish. All right, so there's one focus and there's another focus. Well, what do I know now? I know that this opens left and right. It has to. If my foci are to the left and right of some location, then the hyperbola opens that way. Well, that sets me up for x being the positive term. So I know this is the template into which I'm trying to fill in my information. Okay? Well, I also know that I have a vertex located at 4, 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1. Not 1, sorry, negative 1. Okay? So I know this is one of my vertices. All right, well, there it is. That's not a tremendous amount of help, but the foci are going to give us our first piece of useful information. The center has to be right in the middle of the two foci. Well, if I went plus the square root of 17 and minus the square root of 17 away from 3, what must have been in the middle of that? You guessed it, the center must be at 3, negative 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, negative 1. There's my center. I don't often label it, but I just want to emphasize it now, so I'm going to go ahead and put it there. Well, wonderful, because now I can say that's x minus 3 quantity squared, y plus 1 quantity squared equals 1. I just need to find a and b. Well, let's think about, again, with the focus. The foci, we know that they are square root of 17 away from the center. So that must be c, which means c squared is 17, okay? Well, what does the vertex tell me, or this particular vertex? It's 1 away, which means underneath my x must be 1 squared, which is equal to 1. That tells me that a squared is equal to 1. Well, for the hyperbola, a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. 1 plus b squared must be equal to 17. That means b squared must be equal to 16. B squared is the denominator, and there it is. So we have found the equation of this particular hyperbola. I encourage you to pause the video and do these skill practices from your book. I have the answers here. I don't want to reveal them, but do skill practice 4 and skill practice 5 from your book and check the answers. I always encourage you to do that, the skill practices, because they have the answers right there in the book and you can check and see how you're doing. In the book, you will also see some discussion about something called eccentricity. Eccentricity is interesting, but it is not part of our discussion of the hyperbola, so you can omit that or just take a look at it for personal interest.